Good evening. You are listening to Right on Campus, the UW-Eau Claire College Republican podcast.
Good evening. Welcome back to Right on Campus, the UW-EC College Republicans podcast. I'm Tatiana.
And I'm Grace.
And we are tonight's hosts of Right on Campus. Welcome back to Season 2 of Right on Campus. Semester has officially kicked off for the spring. In tonight's episode, we're going to be discussing the recent news surrounding trans athletes and the Supreme Court hearings that went on over winter break. All right, so on January 13th, the U.S. Supreme Court heard two cases from Idaho and West Virginia, and they kind of centered around the same idea of whether or not states can ban men from competing in female sports. And so the two cases being reviewed are, the Idaho one is Little versus Hecox, which is a transgender athlete, Lindsay Hecox, who transitioned from male to female. In both these cases, it's male to female. And this was a freshman at Boise State University who wanted to compete in women's track. And it ended up becoming elevated up to the Supreme Court. You know, they were like, no, we don't allow that. It became a court case. They raised it to Supreme Court. But he has since asked the court to dismiss the case because he's received negative backlash from it. And he claims that he is permanently withdrawn from women's sports. And so this was kind of you heard a little bit about this within the case hearings as well. Kind of trying to dismiss it and being like, well, he doesn't want his case to be heard anymore, so move on.
Too bad, so sad.
Right. And it was determined that this is relevant, and obviously it's still coming up as an issue, and there does need to be a decision. And the second case was West Virginia versus BPJ, Becky Pepper Jackson, who was a trans athlete who transitioned in third grade, which that just, like, when I first read that, I was like, third grade?
My question is, how can you transition in third grade? Third grade, you're
you
what?
You can socially
you're
transition.
8? You can, but did they do you know if they did any
I don't know at what point he started hormones, but he didn't go through male puberty.
Oh, brother.
So he started pretty young. Yeah.
That is so
And that
wrong.
was the argument they made, that because he received puberty blockers at such a young age, he never went through male puberty, technically, which would affect muscle strength and things like that, and therefore the lower testosterone levels, that there's not biological differences, and it's totally fair for him to be competing. So these cases kind of challenge the state laws that define school sports as segregated by sex. And it kind of asks the question of, can states segregate by sex for sports? Which we've had that question in the past come before the court, so it should be pretty straightforward. But obviously now there's all this nuance around gender and sex and gender identity and gender roles and all these things that are just a mess.
It's so confusing to me. Like, when I was in high school, I tried to kind of understand it, to be respectful of people, but it's getting to be so big and so broad with so many things. I can't keep up. I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
Like, I'll just call you by your name at this point. I don't.
That's the way I approach it too, because like obviously I'm not gonna, if it's somebody I know and they personally ask me and they're like, hey, I don't identify as that, like, can you not call me a he or she or whatever, I'll be respectful in the moment, I'll use their name. But in cases like this, like, I'm not gonna go around just lying, like, and you're not gonna police my language. Mm-hmm. Like, I can be respectful but at the same time speak truth. So
First Amendment.
Amen. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's such a crazy world we live in that these cases are even a thing.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the founding fathers?
Oh, they're rolling in their graves right now.
I can picture them they're signing the Declaration of Independence, we are gonna be free, and little do they know it's like a flash forward to this.
If only they knew.
They would have redacted that signature so fast. So as mentioned, the core question here is, can states define athletic categories based on biological sex, particularly looking at the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause and Title IX? Those supporting trans athletes competing argue that the ban violates the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause and Title IX, which brings in the question of, does Title IX include gender identity, and should it? Which, well, we can talk about that in a second. The anti-trans athletes, so those that want to keep men and women's sports as men and women's sports, the common sense team,
the big brainers,
right? They argue that the ban upholds the 14th Amendment and Title IX. So both people are claiming opposites of the same, like two sides of the same coin, essentially.
Yeah.
And those who support common sense are also claiming that it's necessary to maintain fairness in women's sports.
Which I wholeheartedly agree.
Right.
Like, if you look at the Leah Thomas whole thing, they're, like, the whole reason why Leah Thomas, in quotes, Leah Thomas, started, or, like, transitioned, whatever, okay, fine. But competing in women's sports, I think he solely did that because he couldn't win. And
he was terrible in the men's division.
He was terrible in the men's division. So he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to come into the women's section and be number one. And
Right.
then that happened, and then there was this whole outroar, and now not Riley Green.
Don't worry, Riley Green's a Republican too.
Riley Gaines, like, really flourished in the political side of her career. So.
Yeah, no, right. Exactly. So those are the arguments, and so I think it went on almost all day, hearing back and forth from different people, and the justices just asking questions and trying to better understand the arguments. So there was two main moments that I kind of want to highlight that just kind of show how ridiculous the argument is for men to compete in women's sports. So first, Justice Samuel Alito asked the ACLU lawyers, quote, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman? So he brought up the famous what is a woman question.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh is probably so happy right now. And the lawyers literally said they could not provide that definition.
Bro.
But
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, right? And Alito's response was golden. He goes, well, like, how can I rule on women's sports if you can't even determine what categorizes sports as women's sports?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't define the category we're trying to make, how can we make a decision on what should be included in the category? So that was, I don't know. It was just like I said, Matt Walsh was probably sitting there going like, yes. Yeah. Too bad that film has already come out, because that would be an amazing moment to add in there.
Part two. Make a part two.
No, make it a part two. Make a part two. And then another moment that I wanted to highlight was Justice Kavanaugh stated that the key point of these arguments is that a girl is being taken an opportunity if a trans athlete is picked over.
Amen.
So, and this brings up kind of the whole point, right? Like, every time a man is on a women's team, that's one girl that's not on that team. Especially when we're talking about college athletes who have the potential to get scholarships from these. And that may be what's funding their education.
Right.
And you're taking that as a man because you're not good enough to be on the men's team.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like a you problem.
Right. That sounds like a you problem. You need to figure out how you can be better.
Right.
Like, maybe put in more effort.
Or maybe just try something new. Maybe that's not for you.
Right.
Like, I think almost at least a lot of us did sports in middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And obviously we're not competing in college because we weren't cut out.
Right. I know, well,
That's
I was
just
told
how
I
it
couldn't
is.
continue, but no, like, I stopped doing my sports when I hit high school because I had too many, like, injuries. Literally.
Not surprised.
Literally had too many injuries. I was told, like, your volleyball, it's going to be really difficult. It's going to be a lot harder than you think it is because your shoulder. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. So, and they're like, you can do it if you really want to, but it's going to suck. And I'm like, okay, then I'm just not. Like,
yeah.
I'd rather put my effort into something else.
Right. So. And not have health issues. Oh, wait.
Stop. Not have shoulder issues.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to is, like, you are literally taking something from a girl who deserves it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and then there's the safety concern, too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've seen these, like, boxing matches.
Yeah.
You know, or even volleyball. I remember there's the girl who, like, literally got smashed in the face.
Yeah. It didn't her glasses break or something?
She broke bones or got a concussion.
Yeah.
It was bad. She was hospitalized for it, I know.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to put men in women's sports unless we want to go back to not having women's sports at all.
Yeah.
So the responses that we saw from the justices is that it seemed that it's likely to be lean like 6-3, with majority inclined to allow the bans, which would be a major win for us.
Yeah.
Like, this would allow states to ban trans athletes and ultimately put an end to all this.
Right.
Which would be amazing, but we're not expected to get a final ruling until probably June. Typically, that's kind of the timeline, but we don't really know for sure.
Sometime in 2026.
Right.
Or like mid to late 2026.
Yeah. And it is key to remember, too, that this is not going to ban transgender athletes nationwide. It's simply upholding Idaho's and Virginia bans and allowing other states to do the same.
Yeah.
Some arguments suggested that this would determine if Title IX can be interpreted differently by each state. So this kind of brings in the question of, can national laws and titles and things like that be interpreted by each state differently?
I mean, aren't they already?
I can't think of
Here's
anything.
An example. The legalization of marijuana. Lots of states allow marijuana and it's legal, but it's still considered like a class 1 drug by the federal government.
Yeah.
That was an example. My professor came up today, my criminal justice class.
Oh,
so.
wow. Yeah, I still feel like there is a difference, though, between classifying something as a risk and having a title that states there needs to be fairness.
That's
and we
true.
need to protect women, essentially.
Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying. I do think, yeah. But it's definitely, a question that is going to be answered here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, what are your overall thoughts on the case, the arguments? What do you think is going to come of it?
I think logic will win.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, like, my take on transgenderism is, like, you do you as long as you are of adult age, legal adult age, and, like, you don't completely force it on people. Like, that's just kind of, like, a thing in your life,
Right.
Like, do I think it's right? Do I think you have maybe some mental issues you need to reflect on? Yes. But I'm, like, it's your right to do what you want with your life, so I'm not going to, completely judge you for it. But, like, my issue is more, like, children. Like,
yeah, that
children
makes sense.
cannot be getting these hormones. They can't be blocking puberty.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, and this might sound offensive to a lot of people who don't think like me, it's like a phase. A lot of kids go through these phases and they grow out of it and they realize, oh, that's not actually what I want or who I am.
Right.
And once you start doing these hormone changes and stuff when you're young, like, you can't change that.
Right.
You can't reverse that. These things aren't reversed. Like,
right. And I think, too, we forget the fact that puberty isn't just the development of reproductive organs.
Yeah.
It's the development of everything, including your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just stopping that, the long-term effects are not going to be good. And so, I don't know, it just scares me to see what long-term studies we need.
Yeah.
And, what we end up finding out in the near future, probably.
Yeah.
So, and I think also there's a large correlation between sexual violence and transitioning.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially girls who transition, I think guys too, it very likely could be correlated to the fact that they were abused when they were younger.
Yeah.
They hate their body because of it. They want to literally climb outside of their body.
Yeah.
And this is the closest thing they can do. And their doctors are sitting there telling them, yeah, this is great. This is healthy. This is normal. And it's not. And it's just sad.
And it's also making it like there are tomboys and there are some men that are feminine, but they're still men. Like Jeffree Star, he is a man, but he wears women's clothes and like wears wigs and makeup and stuff. But he's like, yes, I'm a man. Like, I will not go into a women's restroom. That is for women.
Yeah.
And there's also women who are tomboys. Like, they don't like wearing dresses or wearing makeup, and they have short haircuts. Like, I'm thinking of is it the Political Mixer?
Yeah.
On Instagram? Yeah. She's like, I'm not a man.
I love her.
I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And, like, I keep being told that I'm trans, but I'm not. I like guy things, but I am still a woman. So.
Well, and I even wonder, like, if I was raised in a different, like, family. Yeah. Like, I didn't dress up. I wore my hair in a super low bun or like high, but like I never wanted to wear my hair down. I was outside playing every day. Like I didn't always do the girl things. I mean, I liked my princess dresses, so I guess there's that.
Oh yeah, same.
But beyond that, like there was especially a time in middle school where I kind of stepped away from a lot of the feminine things and was so focused on sports and my friends and stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time outside and a lot of time with my brother and my brother's friends and stuff. And I wonder, like, if I was raised in a different family, would someone have looked at me and been, or even if I wasn't homeschooled,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's definitely an issue. I want to touch back on something you brought up about puberty. And do you have some information about the physical differences between men and women? Because obviously that stems from puberty, but I think we can dig a little deeper into that.
So, assuming that a woman or a man goes through puberty, a man has higher level of testosterone, and a woman gets higher level of estrogen. So a man's voice will lower. They'll have their Adam's apple, while women typically get, like, a lot of it is, at least from the studies that I've seen, it's revolved around the reproductive organs and, like, like your breasts come in, so you get more, you retain more fat tissue. And this is one thing that I actually found interesting, is that women typically retain more fat than men because of pregnancy. Like, your body is always prepared to house a human in your womb.
Right, and that's actually why women have more estrogen, is because we store estrogen in fat.
Yeah, so that's why we have, like, when you think of a man, like, they have, like, breasts still, but they're flat.
Right.
Women have breasts that are typically larger because they are storing that fat with that estrogen. And then also women produce milk when they are pregnant and have babies. So
the babies.
The babies. But here's a quote actually from Live Science. It says, men in general are more muscular than women. Women are just over half as strong as men in their upper bodies and about 2/3 as strong in their lower bodies.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Right. So that is another thing that we're going back to with the trans people or transgenders in sports, or trans men or trans women in women's sports.
Yeah.
Like, if they went through puberty, and like even if you didn't go through puberty, there's still going to be that difference. Like, you're still going to have a higher, like, mass index of muscle in your body if you are biologically a man.
Right.
So that's, like, a lot of the issues when it comes to sports, because typically you use your strength in sports, right?
Right. Yeah, you're going to leverage those different biological aspects, and that's what ultimately allows you to compete. And I think you touched on something, important, too, with even before puberty, or if you go through puberty blockers, like there still is a difference.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, your bone development
Yeah,
is
your bone density.
It's already determined at that point. Like your bones are just gonna become not as dense or not as long. Like you may have some changes, but there was a study done by the British Journal of Sports Medicine that compared men before and after being on puberty, on a year of testosterone suppression, and which is puberty blockers essentially. And they found that men still had faster speeds after 1 year.
Yeah.
And that 1 year was determined by that's what's recommended to be the time that transgender athletes wait before competing in women's sports.
Yeah.
And it's been shown that that doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, I think, like, bone structure is the one thing that does not change.
Yeah.
Because women also, like, because women's bodies are made to house children in the womb, your hips are wider.
Yeah.
And men's hips are skinnier.
Right.
So it's like, it's a lot of these physical differences that you cannot change.
Right. Or even, I think, almost every trans athlete that you do see, you can point them out pretty easily because it's a 6 foot tall man standing next to a bunch of 5'5" women.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously abnormal.
Yeah.
So, now with that, is there a point where biological difference doesn't matter in sports? Like, looking at athletes like Michael Phelps, who is proportionately large, his arms are larger than typical. That's a biological advantage in a sense, where a lot of swimmers have webbed feet.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that line drawn?
I think, like, I personally think that if you're a man, like, obviously there's going to be advantages and disadvantages because no human body is the same, right?
Right.
So it's like some people just have to work harder and train more and, like, be very strict on diet and, like, exercise when you're training, all this stuff. And some people don't have to train as hard and still be, like, on that same level. And that's just a struggle that somebody has to pick if they want to fight.
Yeah.
Or, like, a battle if they want to fight that. Like, do you want to, like, for a specific sport, like swimming, we're going with, if you are working twice as hard to get the same results as somebody who's not working as hard because of your biological differences, and you're both a man or both women, like, I think that's kind of just, like, a battle you choose to fight as an athlete. Yeah. And that is kind of a mentality for every athlete.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I think it provides that competition, right?
Yeah.
Being able to have that advantage is what gives competition kind of the fun, in a sense.
Right.
Like, what can I do to have a leg up?
Yeah.
In a fair way. But if we didn't have women's sports forever, right?
Right.
And when we did bring them in, it was because women weren't able to compete against men consistently.
Yeah.
And there's studies that show that. I mean, that's just basic knowledge, right? Like, even, when you're younger and you're competing, in a kickball at recess or whatever, you always wanted the guys on your team.
Yeah.
The girls are always picked last.
Yeah.
This sucks and it's annoying and you get all mad and grumpy about it because I'm a girl, I can play too,
Yeah.
But, like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And it's basic knowledge, so.
It's like whenever you did, like, boys v girls, you'd be like, oh, boys are going to win.
Right.
Right? Like, that's kind of just how it is, especially in dodgeball. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They would whip those things.
Yeah, and the girls would just be standing in the corner.
Like, no! Like,
I'd literally
blocking your
just,
face.
yeah, just like holding the two balls in front of my face.
I'm like, just don't hit me in the face. I will purposely get out just so I don't have to endure this.
Or just like let my friend like get me out.
Yeah. But
yeah. No, I think those are all good points. Yeah, is there anything else you have science-wise?
Yeah, actually. So male metabolism, males burn calories faster. Males
Really?
typically have a better metabolism, and this kind of goes back to women have excess fat for babies.
Makes sense.
So it's kind of it's kind of like you could say like a metabolism deficiency every woman
Yeah.
has, like, compared to a man.
Right.
But it's also genetics, so there's always going to be that. But there's also this other quote from Live Science. That was a great website to go to.
Yeah.
This is kind of a long one, so bear with me. Male and female bodies are well designed for each gender's role in a primitive society. Women are built for carrying and birthing children and must have wider hips to keep extra fat in store for the ordeal of pregnancy. Men are free from the requirements of childbirth, benefit from being as strong and lithe as possible, both in their search for food and when in competition with another man. So that kind of just touches on everything that I already did touch on. But it just goes to show that men are physically stronger, bigger, better.
I don't know about the last part.
Like, in a physical sense, when it comes to strength. So,
yeah. I think it kind of shows, too, like, the bigger, broader issue at play here within this court case.
yeah.
This court case is essentially deciding, do we listen to logic, reason, and science?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we base our, laws and rulings off of how it's going to make people feel?
And that's what makes me a little mad sometimes, is, like, a lot of the times people who think transgender people belong in sports are like, oh, it's going to hurt their feelings, or, oh, this. It's like, they chose to be a transgender person.
Yeah, that was a decision they made.
That's their own fault. So
right. The same way, if you undergo a surgery, you may not be able to compete.
Right.
Just because what it's going to do to your body. Like, there's every action you take in life has consequences, and I think you see this trend on the left that they don't want the consequences of their actions.
Right.
You see it with this issue, and you see it with abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not how life works.
No, it's not. And it's honestly, like, that's why I always go by facts over feelings.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I speak truth, and if your feelings get hurt, that's not my problem, honestly.
Yeah.
But
no, that's fair. Do you think to allow transgender athletes to still be able to compete, there should be a trans-only category?
honestly, if there is enough people that are transgender and are willing to do that, go for it. Then it can just be everybody in it together, Like,
do you think people would watch that?
no. I think people would watch it maybe to, like, giggle.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like, I just think, honestly, if you choose to be transgender, then you can't be an athlete. Like, I'm sorry, but
yeah,
it's just...
you did that to yourself.
It's a choice that you made, a choice that you willingly made, and now you have to take... Like, now you have to have the consequences of, now you can't be an athlete anymore. Take up choir or something. I don't know.
They probably do anyways.
So, like, find something else to help. And, like, that doesn't mean you still can't, like, do recreational sports. Just don't go, like, professional stuff. Like, you can go do, like, if your friends are doing a volleyball game on 4th of July or whatever. 4th of July, sorry. But, like... You can still, like, do that stuff, but when it comes to competing in colleges or professional sports where these competitions matter for your career because it is your career, or scholarships and stuff like that, that's just something that you're going to have to live without because you chose that path.
Where do you stand when it's something like we have intramurals here?
I don't care.
Really?
Like, with intramurals, there's nothing super high on the line. And then also, like, I know some...
there's some co-ed ones, I know. Yeah.
So, like, if there's co-ed ones, I think most of them are co-ed.
Yeah, you might be right there.
If there's an option for a co-ed one, do that one. If it's a women's only one and you're biologically a man, maybe not, don't do that one, do the co-ed one.
Yeah.
If there isn't a co-ed version, then sorry, but make your own team or something. Like,
right, and I think, too, that comes back to the biological differences that can cause harm, right?
Right.
Like we saw with the volleyball player or, the boxing tournaments or whatever. Like, especially if you're in some type of contact sport where there's, danger involved.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to be putting a girl in danger. I mean, we're supposed to be uplifting and protecting our women in society.
Right.
And you're doing the exact opposite by doing that.
Right. That's kind of where I'm confused on the left side or, like, point of view from this is they're like, women's rights, protect women. And then when it comes to transgenderism, they're like, trans women are women. They can do all things we can do. And it's like, okay, well, first off, they can't have babies.
Yeah.
They don't have uteruses.
Yeah.
They are, like, obviously stronger, even if they try not to be. They still are.
Yeah.
Like, it's all these things where they're so pro-women until it comes to trans people, and
it's an issue that they're going to run into.
Yeah. So it's like, you're
Right,
pro-women
but
by
not.
being anti-women. So how does that work? So
Exactly. I think, though, you brought up something interesting there. You said they're all about protecting women, but I actually disagree with that.
that is true.
They're about empowering women
Yeah.
and trying to equate men to women.
Right.
And, you see it with, this is my right. This is, I am able and capable to do everything a man can do, and, and all this stuff. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with being different. You're the party of diversity, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Don't we ought to be celebrating that diversity?
Right. Feminism.
Right.
At its core.
Yep. I think it shows that the left and right actually aren't as different as people think they are
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we're here arguing that the diversity between men and women is a good thing, while they would call us hateful for that. But they argue about diversity from a standpoint we don't agree with.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there are some similarities. One's just based in logic.
Right. Right. So as we're continuing on, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How should these policies differ at K through 12 level versus a professional level?
Honestly, I don't think there should be a difference. I think it comes down to the basics. You're a man or you're a boy, and you're a woman or you're a girl.
Right.
If, like, that's it. There's no exceptions. There's no if, and, or buts. Like, it is the way it is,
Right.
And I know that what we always hear is that, what about hermaphrodites? What about hermaphrodites?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can deal with, what is it, like 1 in a million or whatever? Like, it's not common.
Yeah.
And so deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But honestly, that goes to show that that's not normal.
Right.
And so, I think K through 12, sports at K through 12 level aren't just about winning.
Right.
They're about teaching you how to be a team. And being a team, involves certain things. And if you're on a team where you're with girls and you're a boy, you're not learning how to treat girls fairly.
Right.
You're learning entitlement, and that's not something K through 12 kids should be learning when they're in sports teams.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
All right, any last thoughts?
I actually want to touch on this. Another issue with trans women in women's sports is locker rooms.
Yes, that's a good one. We didn't even touch on that. Good
Yes.
point.
So, even, like, outside of sports, just in general, like
Yeah.
bathrooms,
Yeah.
all this stuff. I've seen so many videos where there is an obvious man who, that's a big issue with trans these days, is a lot of these men are just putting makeup on their face and wearing dresses and saying, I'm a trans woman, I deserve to go into the
Right.
bathroom. They're not even trying to look like a woman at this point. They are a man dressed up in women's clothes. And that is a problem because there are children and, like, other young women that that is their space
Mm-hmm.
to feel safe.
Yeah.
I think, like, there should be, like, I know on campus there's gender neutral bathrooms where
Yeah.
it's literally just
The
like
single.
a single
Yeah.
bathroom. Use those.
Yep.
If
Agree.
that's not available to you and you're a trans woman, sorry if you still have a dick, go to the man's bathroom because, like, I don't want to see that.
No, exactly. And it's not appropriate, it's not fair, and it ruins the whole point of having men and women's bathrooms.
Right.
Like, might as well just have one big bathroom with everyone.
Right. And I've seen so many arguments being like, well, what about women that transition to men? Men have no problem with a woman going into the bathroom that are dressed up as a man. I've seen a lot of things where, like, especially argued in Congress
Mm-hmm.
and courts,
Right.
where they're saying, like, if you feel you are a man and you are biologically a woman, you can come and use our bathroom. But if you are biologically a man and dressed up as a woman, come to our bathroom, because if you have the physical body parts of a man, that should not be exposed to women. And, like, especially in a lot of locker rooms, some, like, I know the Y,
Mm-hmm.
especially for, like, there's the children's locker room or, like, the underage locker
Right.
room. Like, you have to be 18 plus to go into the adult locker room. There's, like, not a lot of private changing spaces there.
No, right.
Like, it's all open. Like, the only private changing space you can use is the toilet stall.
Right. No, you're right. Yeah. There's a lot of places now where, yeah, you go in and you just change right there.
Right.
And I'm not doing that with a man.
Right.
You know, no, I'm not going to let that happen. Yeah.
And there's plenty of there's plenty of videos that I've seen on social media, which is not a very reliable source. And, like, I'll just leave that there. Where it's like, you can see shadows, like, with lights in toilet areas.
Mm-hmm.
You can see shadows because the lights are directly over
Right.
you. So you can see the shadow on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's like biological men are, like,
Yep.
getting off in the bathroom. And it's like, that is in no way appropriate at all. Ever.
I mean, really, that shouldn't be happening in either men or women's
Right.
bathroom. Like, that's a major issue.
Right. That's an issue in itself. But, like, especially for that to be happening in a women's bathroom. I think it was, like, at Planet Fitness.
I think you're right. I do remember hearing
was
that.
the one that I specifically saw. Like, that just should not be happening at all, ever.
Yeah.
So, that's what I have on that.
No, I think that's a really good point, and it reminds me a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year, 2 years ago, there was somebody I saw on campus that was wearing little girls' clothing.
That was last year.
Was that last year?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I had said something to a few people in a group chat being like, guys, this is happening, just so you know, I feel creeped out. Something's off. And somebody scolded me and was like, you're being so rude. People can dress how they want. All the names,
Yeah.
you need to knock it off. That's crazy. And it was a day or two later, and we find out this guy was stalking girls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, but there's no reason for a man to be wearing little girls' clothing ever.
Right.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Like, at first you were making an observation, which
Yeah.
is a fair observation. You were stating facts. That's
Well,
all it was.
And we should be able to make observations for our own safety. That's how we
Right.
survive.
Right. I think I do remember this. It was, and he also had like a little girl's backpack too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he had a little girl's hat, backpack,
Yeah.
and clothing, I think.
but I think it did turn out he wasn't even a student here.
No.
And he was coming into our buildings. And then he ended up getting arrested.
Yeah, I know.
At an
okay.
elementary school for having a
Oh my
firearm.
gosh.
On
I didn't even know that.
He didn't get into the building, but he was still on the premise. You're not, like, by
Yeah.
the laws, you can't have a firearm
Right.
on premise
Yeah.
of a school. So,
That's insane.
yeah. But,
That was, yeah. So that's your little story of how this relates to college.
welcome to Eau Claire, guys.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's kind of a fun way to wrap it up, a personal story. But I think, as you guys are listening, something to take away from this that I encourage you all is to stand in the truth of the biological differences between men and women and don't concede.
Right.
It's simple. It's based in logic. It's based in truth. Honestly, I think it's one of the easiest issues to stand up to because it's so purely logical and scientific.
Right.
So I encourage you all to do that. When it comes to, the pronoun issue or things like that, there's ways to avoid it if you really don't want to deal with it, but also there's ways to be polite and say, I don't do that. No, thanks.
Yeah.
And move on. Just say it and keep talking. There's no reason to stop and pause and make it a whole conversation.
Right.
So, yeah, hopefully you guys are not dealing with these type of things in your locker rooms, bathrooms, sports teams, or whatever. And if you are and you don't know what to do about it, reach out. We will, we'll help you if we can, or we'll get you in contact with the right people, because it's an issue and it's not one we want to see continue.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to Right on Campus. We post this podcast weekly, tackling current events and life as conservatives on campus. If you'd like to learn more about UWEC College Republicans, follow us on Instagram or Facebook at UWEC College Republicans. Have a great night. Tatiana
and Grace
signing off.
Thank you for listening to Right on Campus. We post this podcast once a week where we talk about current events and life as a conservative on campus. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at UWEC College Republicans. Have a great night and see you next time.